Welcome into welcome back to the sideline. I mean, come on. We're still coaches here. We're still at it. We still got that paper in front of us, all right? We're making those choices. We're making the right plays. And right now, we're going to be making the plays on the South and what the South is going to be looking like for both the NFC and the AFC. Coach, where do you want to start? Do you want to start on the NFC side of the ball, or you want to start on the AFC side of the
Uh,
ball?
let's start with the AFC. We've been keeping that trend recently. You can tell I'm ordering off my Denny's menu because these are easy. Both of the South is both, in my opinion, the worst division in both NFC and AFC. Arguably the worst divisions in all of the NFL.
All of
The
football.
AFC South is a dumpster fire right now, and I mean, who's going to come in last place? I mean, that's probably going to have higher betting odds than who's going to win the division because nobody actually knows who's going to stink worse than each other. Um, that being said, I have the Tennessee Titans. There are some people who are saying the Titans are going to win the division. I think they're insane. Cam Ward probably will be good, but the problem is the rest of his offense is not, and his defense is riddled with, I don't know, nothing to say elite or great talent on it. I think they could easily get swept by their division, and they're going to be a very rocky start. But it's going to be like the New England Patriots last year. They don't win a ton of games, but their quarterback is probably going to look very promising if you continue to build around him. Uh,
I
I think
think
the other big thing is how Callahan is going to do as a coach. I have no idea.
I think Callahan could pull it out, and I think he could do really well as a first year coach, and could continue to be there for another, I'd say 2 3 years, and then it would start to become a town, kind of like a Mike McDaniel situation. But Cam Ward, I think, is their answer, based off of what I've seen from the camps and from all the reports of him being a leader. That's what they need. They need a leader on that team. They never really had one. Ryan Tannehill wasn't a leader. Will Levis was not a leader. Mason Rudolph was not a leader, and so none of them were genuinely helping this team get anywhere. I think Cam Ward is going to be that response for them. But I think their biggest question in the air is going to be they have no help for the man. I don't remember who their tight end is. Excuse me. I know Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears are their running backs. I don't think that they are the answers either. I know that Tyler Lockett is on their squad for the wide receiving area. He is not their answer either. These are all guys that are just, I don't want to say it in a mean way, but they're holding up roster
Yeah.
spots for because they're just older and they're not going to be able to help Cam Ward as much. Now, it's still going to get the job done in some other aspects in some other games, like when they potentially face off, or not potentially, they will, but when they face off against the Colts and the Jaguars, that they could win those
Yes.
games at home, with some luck from Cam Ward and the other aspects. But I think their defense is going to be the best part of the team, and it's not even like saying that they're going to be amazing. I just think that's the only part that's kind of whole right now. And so they're going to be the most to help them. But I agree with you, the Titans being at four.
Uh, I mean, yeah, in terms of help, they got Kevin Zeitler, a free agency from Detroit, for a new guard position. Their tight end is Chiga Konwu, who's,
Oh yeah.
I guess he's going to be good to help develop, but like he's not going to necessarily be the reason you win games. He's probably going to get 30 something yards a game,
Mm-hmm.
on like 7 targets. They got
Yep.
Calvin Ridley and Tyler Lockett, but like these are not guys that are A, going to be around for long, and B, it's just fodder. In the way you said, like there's just people holding up spots, and it's all going to be hopefully to build him up. And then once you get enough, you just clean house at one point. You get as many picks as you
Yep.
can. You dive into the draft where you should. You go to free agency and trade for when you can't. These
Yep.
guys are going to have a lot of money soon, but they need to do it fast while Cam Ward is still on that rookie contract. Next up, I have it's kind of a hot take. I have Jacksonville. I feel like a lot of people are
I don't think it's
a
hot at
lot of
all.
people are putting Indiana here or Indiana last. I think Jacksonville is going to be here. My reason is for the past 3 or 4 years, basically ever since Trevor Lawrence's sophomore year. On paper, this team should contend with the division every single year. Their offense is always supposed to
Completely.
be
Yeah.
amazing, and their defense
Thank
is
you.
always supposed to be very good. And every year,
Yep.
they just suck. They are
They
terrible
just
every
can't.
year, and you can
It's
never
so
figure out why.
it's
Because Trevor Lawrence
oh
isn't always playing terrible. Their defense isn't always
Hmm.
playing terrible, and yet they manage to lose games on a very consistent basis. Um, I think Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be so good that he gets himself traded to a good team because there's going to be someone who wants to go on a playoff run and they want a little more help and they're going to make a push for him. I think Travis Hunter is going to be one of the biggest draft letdowns in the past decade because he's not going to be able to play both sides of the ball like everyone thinks he is for some reason. And I mean, on defense, other than Josh Allen, who's developing very nicely, who do they have?
Yeah, I mean, you don't know where Travis Hunter is going to be going on that side. I mean, some would say he's going to mainly be at the wide receiver area. Some would say he's mainly going to be at the cornerback
I would
area.
assume he's
Eh,
mostly going to be at the wide receiver era. I would say he's going to play, if I had to throw a number out there, it's going to be like 70-30 wide receiver. But I
yeah,
think he's going
yeah.
to start getting rocked by these 6'5", 245 DK Metcalfs of the league. And
Hmm.
his body is not going to be able to take it. And it's going to turn into a 90-10 or full 100% of the offensive side of the ball. And he's going to realize, yeah, I probably should do this in the NFL.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that's kind of it's showing now is that your actions, will have consequences that might not show up right away, but are going to eventually show up. Is that Trevor Lawrence contract that they had a few
Yes.
years back? What was it, 2 or 3 years? It was a 4-year contract, 210 million. That's hurting them right now. They don't have the money that they can go and spend on getting a old veteran that like Robert Woods per se,
Yes.
where they can bring him in, they can pay him some good money while also having other weapons that can learn from him. They don't have anybody to learn from that is good. They have guys to learn from, but they're just guys that, don't do anything. And so in this aspect, it's more the fact of Trevor Lawrence didn't really learn from anybody. Travis Etienne hasn't learned from anybody. Travis Hunter can't learn from Brian Thomas Jr. because Brian Thomas was just a
Yeah, the
rookie.
vet in the
Brian
room
Thomas
is now Tim Patrick, who they just acquired from the Lions, who, don't get me wrong, love
Mhm.
Tim Patrick. I will forever remember
Yeah,
his two touchdown game against the Packers.
yeah.
But at the same time, if he is your guy that you're learning from, you're not going to learn everything you can. Who's coaching down there again?
It's the new guy. I forget his
Yeah,
name.
it's not a great.
He made the meme. The
Oh,
Duval.
Liam Cohen from Tampa, right?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Um, he's another one where with Bo Callahan, where it's like I have no idea. Like this guy could actually be a really solid head coach, or he could just be the next Mike McDaniel and like very quickly show he doesn't really have an idea what's going on, and
Yeah,
he should
yeah.
probably just stick to being a coordinator. It'll be interesting to see how the team responds to him. I think that'll be a big thing.
Hmm.
Can he? Because honestly, aside from that clip, I have seen nothing about him. So can the team buy into whatever he's trying to sell them? And that will probably be a big part of it because I didn't think, well, Urban Meyer, terrible coach for them. I mean, both
Right.
on the field and off the field, just all the wrong things. Uh, when what's his face from the Eagles, Doug something or other. I'm blanking on his name. Um,
Doug Peterson.
Doug Peters, yeah, that's right. He wasn't terrible down there. His firing was kind of a surprise when it happened, but at the same time, it was
Yes.
justified. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to be on the upswing in the next 2 years. I do agree with you with that contract. That contract screwed up the quarterback market for years to come. But we can thank
No,
Trevor
yeah.
Lawrence for that.
Yep. For me, next I have the Indianapolis Colts. Their quarterback situation is still kind of iffy, but
Indiana
you,
Jones. Indiana
it's
Jones.
it's either Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson. I have never believed in Anthony Richardson. I have always said from the beginning that he is not a good quarterback, and that I don't understand why people had so much faith in this guy. And it's showing is that he's cocky in some aspects. He has only played about 25 games at quarterback position in his entire life, with high school, college, and pro mixed in, and he's injury prone right now. And so the Colts, I think, are going to be at that point where they built up so much for him, and that their missing piece was a quarterback, and they're still missing that piece. So I think this is going to be their final year at that middle point of 9-8, 8-9. I could see them going 7-10. Um, and then after that, they're going to start on the decline. They're going to need to shop around for a QB to hold them over until they're ready to get a pick early enough to get a solid quarterback within the
Yeah,
draft.
I mean, don't get me wrong, their defense looks great this year, which it has always been pretty solid in the Shane Steichen era. Do you think Shane Steichen, if this is a 5 or 6 win team, finds himself out the door? Because now that the Ursay girls have taken over, are they going to want to instill like brand new culture, brand new everything? Because it's not like
I wouldn't
I don't think
say
Daniel Jones is getting another
quite yet.
contract with this team, to be honest.
I think it mainly depends on the relationship that the Irsay daughters bring up with
Hmm.
Steichen. It's mainly the fact of, is there a good relationship? Like if they're they have a good relationship, they have a good dynamic together. If they are saying this is going to be hard, it's going to be a transition for the company as a whole, going from one guy running everything to it's three daughters, right?
I believe so.
Correct. And from them now, granted, not saying that they can't do the job. They
No,
100% can. They've
I'm
shown it.
blanking on her name, but one of them
But
was very involved last year in the season. She was always up in the
mhm.
booth. She knows how to run the company, basically. So I do have full faith in them to keep this a respectable franchise, but at the same time, um,
I could see them kind of saying, not that there's a warranty to it, but there's a little bit of a free pass. There's a little bit of a
you get a bye
get
year.
out of jail free card. Yeah, that you know, if you do great, great, we'll build off of it. But if you're 5 to 6 win area, we'll disregard it for now
Right.
and we'll let it go.
Um,
Um,
I I was a believer at the beginning. Um, I am slowly falling off on that train. I mean, my thing was Anthony Richardson needs snaps regardless of how bad he is.
yeah,
He needed them last year. He needs them this year. And the fact that like they should just choose to suck. Like I'm not saying tank, but like I'm trying to remember who just did this. It was kind of the Josh Allen scenario when he got drafted by Buffalo. Like he wasn't good,
yeah.
but they never pulled him because he needed the reps. Anthony
Hmm.
Richardson needs to play games. You talked about how little games he's played in his entire career. He needs to be playing football, and yet even though he's not great, for some reason they keep putting these veterans in front of him, even though he's not winning the quarterback battle. That's obvious with Joe Flacco and Daniel Jones. But regardless, he needs to be taking the reps so that way he can get better. Because at this point, what you were saying when you announced Daniel Jones as your starting quarterback is that they do not believe uh, in Anthony Richardson, and it kind of sounds like the locker room was not surprised by the Daniel Jones move at all. But yeah, like you said, there's a lot of people. Michael Pittman will probably be on a new team in 2 years, or in the next 2 years. I can say the same with Quentin Nelson. There's guys on the defense I can say the same with. They have a lot of problems.
Uh, Next team for me, the number one, I mean, you have it as well. It's going to be the Texans. CJ Stroud, everyone was one in particular I could think of in my head. Oh, he's a sophomore slump. It's not going to be going well for him his junior season. I completely disagree. I think that CJ Stroud is going to be on an MVP caliber season this coming season for him. I think that he's going to be the X factor for the team, and he's going to push them, and he's going to make them win this division. They're going to be at the 4 slot at around 11-6, maybe even 12-5, and they're gonna go. They're gonna go far. I think I think CJ Stroud has finally found his aspect and what his capabilities can really give him and what he can do with them to the point where he could get a win over the Chiefs. He could get a win over the Ravens because of just how dominant he could be. But yeah, that might be my hot take of the season is that CJ Stroud is on. I think this year is going to be an MVP caliber
I
season.
mean, you look at his wide receiver room, and it's going to be Nico Collins, Christian Kirk, and Tank Dell. Um,
Hmm.
I don't see Tank Dell on here actually.
He's there,
Interesting. This might be from last season technically, so he might be on like an injury list or something.
right?
Um, but I mean, their wide receiver room is going to be good. He makes them better. Yeah, this is definitely an injury list situation because problem is Joe Mixon's not going to play for a couple weeks at the start. That's going to hurt them because Nick Chubb is not the guy he used to be when he was young and in Cleveland. He's blown out his same knee in probably the worst way possible twice in his career up to this point. You and I were watching the game where he did it the second time because it was against the Steelers,
Yep.
wasn't it? And
Yep.
they refused to show it on television. It was gruesome.
It was
And I mean,
brutal.
kudos to this guy for still playing, but like, I would think that Damian Pierce would start over Nick Chubb at this point. Their defense, a little questionable. Their offensive line is their big question mark, though. Can you protect CJ Stroud, who got sacked a lot last year, and then you lost all of these people? Um, that's going to be the big question. If they can protect him, they can make a playoff run. If it comes out and they are not making progression and CJ is doing what Jaden did last year, where he's constantly being mobile, this team has no shot at making a deep playoff run.
For the Texans, I have them at my 4 overall for the AFC. They get in without a wild card.
I think they are probably going. They're going to win the division. I do think they will be the bottom of the division leaders, though, just because the division leaders will be far more dominant than them. I think, and
Yeah.
also, like we said, this division is terrible. It's easily the worst in football.
Well, I think that this next one might be the worst in football with the NFC South. You have the bottom team, who I would argue is going to be the worst team in all of the NFL this season. I have them maybe winning 3 games. I could see it being one. I don't think they're going to go winless. They'll definitely be able to squeak one out, maybe against one of their division opponents, but it's going to be the New Orleans Saints. Spencer Rattler being announced as your starting quarterback is not the way. It is not. Pedro Pascal as the Mandalorian would not agree. This is not the way. Where it's the fact of they are a team that is coming off of Dennis Allen's weird decisions. They are coming off of, they are still having the backlash and the repercussions of Sean Payton and his weird decisions to retire and come back, and Drew Brees and being able to keep him around for so long. And so,
Salary cap
um,
issues, brand new head coach, which Kellen
it,
Moore could
yeah.
probably be a very fantastic coach down here, and we might see that next year. I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think this team is going to win at the max 2 games. I genuinely think like we might see the first 0-17 team, and that wouldn't be crazy. This team is depleted in terms of talent. You have Alvin Kamara, and in terms of defensive talent, I mean, what do you have? You have nothing to work with as a cohesive unit. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if they only squeak out one of those wins being like a late round Panthers, or their last game of the season is in Atlanta. Uh, those could be one of them, but like if they go winless, is anyone really going to be surprised?
I don't think a whole lot. No.
Do you think Rattler gets benched at any point during the season?
If they were to, I don't know. Their quarterback room is not great
It's
because I don't
also
know if
I
I'd
also
even
agree
put
it's the worst
Tyler.
quarterback room in the NFL by far. And if
Yeah,
they do bench
it's
him, I don't
hard.
think they're winning any games with their rookies, or rookie,
No,
I should say.
no. Tyler Stow is not the answer. I mean, I think it's going to come down to the point where they're just going to have to bite the bullet and say, "All right, Spencer, get back in there. You're not playing great. You kind of suck right now, but
I'd be
go. Like you
surprised if
can't do anything
I'd
about
be
it."
surprised if Alvin Kamara wasn't or was still a New Orleans Saint by the end of the season. I think for sure he
I
will go
I was
somewhere
gonna
else.
say I think he's one of the key players to look out for around that week 8 trade
Yeah.
deadline.
Um,
The next team I got is the Carolina Panthers. I think that if the Saints are getting wins, it's going to be against this Carolina team. Not saying that Carolina's bad by any means, but Carolina has some question marks in a lot of different positions. Um, but they definitely could surprise a lot of people. I think they'll surprise me a little bit. I think maybe around 5 or 6 wins. But I feel like that's still a little generous, maybe 3 to 4. This team, to me, is just a big question mark. I don't really know a whole lot of their players. I know, Bryce Young and McMillan and Leggett and all that stuff, but I don't really know a whole lot of players that are, you know, veterans that are going to be able to make those plays for them.
yeah,
So it's a questionable season for them this year
completely
for me.
agree with you. I'm looking at their offense right now as we speak. You got Bryce Young, who I mean, he started last season or came into the end of last season just hot on all engines.
Yeah.
And I mean, your wide receivers are Leggett, who's great. McMillan, I think, is going to have a breakout year compared to what he did last year. He could easily surpass Leggett in all the numbers. You have Tommy Tremble as your tight end. Your offensive line kind of stinks. You don't really have a good wide receiver. It's between Chuba Hubbard and Trevor Etienne, which are take it as you will. You trade away
Yeah.
Adam Thielen, so you're not helping develop with this veteran. You sign Hunter Renfrow only to cut him on cut day, so he's not even going to be the veteran in the.
And they might bring him back because of trading Thielen.
They might do it now, but I honestly don't see it happening. I was kind of surprised Hunter Renfrow came
No.
back into the league in the first place. On the defensive
Yeah.
side, aside from J.C. Horn and Patrick Jones, I don't know any of these names. This is a genuinely just depleted bit of talent. But like I do think if the Saints do leapfrog them and Carolina falls last, I will be a little surprised. I do
Yeah,
think
me too.
the coaches have finally instilled what they want to. I think they fixed that front office a lot. Um, give them 4 or 5 years, and this will be a team that contends for the division. Not anytime soon.
For me, at the number two, I have the Falcons. The Falcons are a team that I think needs to put all of their chips in on Michael Penix Jr. They put a lot of money in on Kirk Cousins, and I think that if Michael Penix doesn't pan out, that's going to bite them in the butt. This is a Indianapolis Colts situation where they had, for the Colts, they had Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman. They had an amazing O line with Quentin Nelson. They had a good defense going. That they just needed a quarterback, and I think that's the same with the Falcons. Is that they were also in that scenario. Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts. Whether you like them or not, you have a very decent O line. You have a very good defensive secondary that could win you a lot of ball games, and that this team just needs a quarterback. And they thought that was Kirk Cousins. It wasn't ending up to be that way, so they went with Michael Penix. And this season, giving the reins to Michael Penix could pan out for them very, very well. But it could also end up with an Anthony Richardson type of ordeal where it doesn't pan out for them. They then have to go back to the drawing board, start giving away, pieces like Drake London and Kyle Pitts. You want to keep Bijan to see if you can rebuild in time for him. But this is one of those teams that they are having to put a lot on the line for this season to see where they go for their
This is
future.
definitely a make or break here. I think their coaching staff is great, and it stinks because I don't think Michael Penix is the answer. I do not think he will ever be good enough to make that push. Um, I think Drake London could be on his way out from the team. Kyle Pitts is not what he was in college. Bijan Robinson is, in my eyes, insanely overhyped as a running back. You could put him behind an Eagles or a Lions or some great offensive line, and he's not going to put up the numbers that Saquon and Jahmyr Gibbs put up, just because I don't think he has the field vision and the talent to make those plays. Their defensive line is going to be make or break for them. It's going to be what wins them games. They went all in this year on those players, and if it fails for them, this is going to blow up in their faces, and they're going to be screwed for God knows how long. Um, I thought Kirk Cousins honestly was going to end up somewhere else this year. I mean, there was talks of him going to Pittsburgh. There was talks of him going to Cleveland. He almost ended up in Seattle. So this team is just all over the place in terms of behind the scenes, and I think they're going to be. I think we could see three teams from this division, from both divisions, with technically losing records.
Yeah. My number one to end it off, you and I again both have the same. So it feels like we know what we're talking
It's
about.
almost like
Maybe
we
that's
know
why we're coaches.
ball.
It's almost like we know it. Is the Buccaneers, Tampa Bay Bucks. I I would put all of my chips in on Baker Mayfield this year. He's another guy that although that this division seems to be the worst for both the NFC and the AFC, that I could see being an
Yeah,
MVP. Baker really could come into his own and be able to show everybody, especially the Cleveland Browns, what they were doing wrong with him, and that potentially Mike Evans last season, especially if they make a good push and win the Super Bowl, could be their last, could be his last. But you have Chris Godwin that's playing some pretty good ball until his injury last year,
I think he'll be
and
back and
you
be
can see where
fine.
he goes with it. Yeah, I would agree. And so one of my favorite running backs for this entire year is Bucky
So
Irving.
good.
I think he's so underrated, and that he can make some amazing plays. And like we said with in our episode about the East, maybe we see Micah Parsons get traded here at some point. And if that were to happen,
Yes.
110% I'm putting this team in a Super
I
Bowl.
mean, yeah, that I mean, that wide receiver core is fantastic. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Say that again.
fantastic. I mean, you have Rashad White backing up Bucky Irvin. If Baker Mayfield goes down for 2 weeks with a hand problem or something, now have Teddy Bridgewater, who is consistent enough to win you games with that good of an offense. You have Tristan Wirfs on the offensive line, who is still great. Your defensive line is so good. Cade Otto is still at the tight end position. He's a very underrated tight end. Um, this is a team where I agree with you. This division is so bad that I think a Baker will have the best year of his career and put up insane numbers. He will be in the MVP talks in week 15, 16, 17. He will be a
Yeah.
finalist this year. And I think he's already proven everybody that he is a competent quarterback and that Cleveland just completely mishandled him. This is a team where, like, I could see just because of like the schedule the Eagles have and they have harder people that they play because of it in a sense. Um, like they could somehow manage to get leapfrogged for the bye week by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think this is the team to look out for when a team looks at their full schedule and say, we cannot underestimate these guys because they will beat the crap out of us.
Yeah. Any final thoughts more on the South, whether on the NFC or the AFC side of the ball?
Not that I can think of.
All right. Well, for stick to the sidelines, we're sticking to them here on the south side of the ball. But coming back, we're going to be talking about both of our favorite teams in their divisions on the NFC and the AFC North. So make sure to stay tuned for that video. But also stay tuned and look out for some other videos about some golf, maybe some college football as well. And if you haven't already, go back and watch the East, the West, and of course this episode of the South of the NFC and the AFC and the NFL.